It's not only society that has lied to you. Not just love songs or romantic movies, even your own instincts lied to you. You were made to believe that women are kind, compassionate, selfless beings. That their love is pure, their intentions noble, their hearts free from the dark desires of men. But the man who mapped the darkest corners of the human psyche, Carl Jung, discovered a different, far more shocking truth. According to Jung, beneath the surface of every woman lies a force so primal, so calculating, that most men only recognize it when it's too late. By the end of this video, you will be in possession of that ability that you weren't taught in school, that even psychologists hide. The ability to anticipate female behavior, avoid emotional battles, and reclaim the power you've lost in the game you were unwittingly sucked into. This is not hatred, this is survival instinct. Think about it. Have you ever met a woman who seemed perfect? Someone who seems kind, loyal, ready to be vulnerable. But when you really needed help, she suddenly turned icy. She became cold, indifferent, even cruel. It wasn't a coincidence. It cannot be explained away with the excuse that that's just the way people are. This was what Jung called the shadow, the hidden self that the woman repressed even within herself, that she hid, that she was afraid to confront. And you felt it. The shocking contradiction of a woman who one day glorifies you and the next day turns her back on you. The way she distorted the past. The way she made you feel like you did things you never did. The way your tears seemed real at the time, but now you look back and realize that they were just a strategy, that you were part of a game. Carl Jung saw this a century ago. He wrote in his private notes, "The feminine persona is the masterpiece of deception. Not because women are liars, but because nature demands it of them." Here is the first hard truth. Women do not choose to deceive, they are designed to be so. Men evolved to conquer, to build, to fight. Women evolved to survive. And for them, the way to survive is to understand, manipulate, and exploit male psychology. That is why a woman's love is not unconditional. It is a negotiation, an exchange, a biological contract. Your value is measured by how useful you are in her eyes. Jung called this the thema trap, a man projecting his inner longing onto a woman. He mistakes her play of vulnerability for real depth, and that's where the fear begins. The woman you loved was never real. She was only the reflection you wanted to see. If you were strong, she would admire you. But the moment you showed weakness, she would withdraw, she would go away. And when you failed to meet her unconscious expectations, she would punish you, not with anger, but with coldness, with silence, with indifference. The woman who used to shower you with love would now leave you emotionally starved. But this is only the beginning. There is a darker layer. A woman is by nature an innocent predator. She approaches you with a soft voice, envelops you with her tenderness, protects you with her fragility. But deep down inside, she knows when to retreat, when to manipulate, when to gain power by ignoring you. He may not do it consciously, but on a biological level, he is driven to this behavior. Because throughout history, her survival has depended on her ability to manipulate him. This is why women harbor a control mechanism behind their loving exterior. The closeness she makes you feel is a tool. When she cries next to you, she knows that she is not really weak. She knows that she can tie you more. When she shuts you up, she doesn't punish you. She just shows you where her power lies. Carl Jung's theories bring to light those dark truths that society today doesn't even dare to talk about. A woman is not only a loving being. She is also a figure who tests the male self, who leads you to your shadow, who forces you to face yourself. And if you don't understand this nature, you will be lost in emotional battles for a lifetime. But when you realize this truth, you are no longer a victim. You become not someone who plays the game, but someone who sees the game and lives accordingly. And then, finally, you take back your own power. Jung didn't just pull back the curtain. He showed why the curtain was there. Once you realize the reason behind why women behave the way they do, you can no longer see love the way you used to. Let me ask you a simple but sharp question. Have you ever been loved for who you really are, or have you been appreciated only for what you offer? The security you provide, the money you earn, your power to protect her from the cruelty of the world. Jung's secret notes point to a shocking truth. Women often approach not with love, but with logic. It's an exchange. Remember, was she there for you when you were unemployed, or did her respect for you quietly melt away? When you opened up, did she draw closer to you, or did an invisible wall come up? This is not cruelty, but a biological strategy. For thousands of years, women who chose survival over emotions have outlived others. This evolutionary drive still works in the background of today's relationships. In every relationship, you have felt this unspoken pact. More attention when you succeed, less when you fail. Jung called this the motherhood bargain. The woman subconsciously weighs the man's genetic value and social status and adjusts her commitment accordingly. And the sad thing is that she doesn't do this consciously. Just as you don't think your interest in youth and fertility is a rational choice. It is instinctive. When you face the truth, past breakups, suddenly cold feelings, or the words, "I don't feel the same anymore," suddenly make sense. Jung's most censored observations show that women unconsciously behave like hunters, not out of malice, but out of survival instinct. Her attraction to you begins with your potential. If you fail to realize it, you are punished. He loves your power, but then complicates your life to test it. He wants you to be emotional, but when you show emotion, he turns away from you. This is not hypocrisy, this is hypergamy, that is, the innate drive to choose better. And women reject this reality more than you do. Because what Jung revealed in his deepest and most secret studies is that what women fear most is not loneliness, but the realization of their true identity. Every man has a breaking moment, a moment when everything makes sense. You realize the script that the woman is following in her life. She doesn't even know that she is reading it. Jung called this struggle the shadow war, the battle between the role she has to play in society and her true nature. And the scariest part is that you don't only lose this battle, she loses it too. Think about it. Was the most damaging woman in your life really evil? Or was she someone who believed her own lies? Saying, "I want honesty," and punishing you when you are honest. Saying, "I'm not angry," and emotionally suffocating you. These are not conscious manipulation, but scenarios that nature has written into us. According to Jung, women manipulate men not with direct power, but with emotional games. She uses your virtues against you. The more you take responsibility, the looser he gets. The more you support him, the more he creates problems. The more you try to make him happy, the more he makes you unhappy. Jung describes this as the martyr's trap. The woman's shadow feeds on chaos. If you are too stable, she wants to shake you. If you are strong, she tests that strength, because her subconscious tells her she needs to find someone who can withstand her darkness. And here's the truth that will make your skin crawl. The more gentle and sweet a woman appears, the deeper her shadow. Jung's archives are full of stories of women pretending to be the perfect wife and insidiously undermining their husbands. Not through infidelity, not through violence, but through strategic weakness. Headaches when courage is needed, depressions that disappear when attention wanes. This is not a conspiracy. It's survival code. It's older than civilization. When a woman says, "I don't know why I'm like this," believe her. She really doesn't. The shadow inside her speaks for her, just like your desire speaks for you. But this battle is not hopeless. Jung discovered something darker than the shadow, the power to defeat it. And when you learn how to use this weapon, you will no longer bow to female nature. This last fact changes everything. For the last 9 minutes, I've shattered all the beautiful lies about women. Now we're rebuilding. Because Jung didn't reveal these truths to break men. He did it to make them dangerous. Not cruel, not hateful dangerous. Just as a lion is dangerous to wolves, just as truth is dangerous to lies. The ultimate revelation from Jung's secret diaries is this: a man who understands female nature cannot be controlled by it. The first law, be a mirror. Women are changed by results, not by advice. Jung's great discovery was this: a woman's shadow respects only what she cannot manipulate. When she creates chaos, be the calm. When she plays the victim, you remain indifferent. When she tests, be unapproachable. This is not a punishment. This is physics. Just as light bends around a black hole, female nature bends around the unshakable male will. Second law: don't give anything away. Your grandfathers knew this instinctively. Don't make a woman your therapist. Don't let her be your source of purpose. Never let her be your moral compass. Jung wrote that the moment a man entrusts his emotional oxygen to a woman, she has to suffocate him to survive. That's why modern men are slaves. They beg for sex instead of dominating desire. They seek approval instead of setting boundaries. They negotiate instead of creating attraction. The solution: build a soul so rich that female attention is only an option. And the last law: turn your shadow into a weapon. This is the forbidden teaching of Jung. A man's strength is not in running from darkness, but in using it. Turn your suppressed anger into discipline. Turn your silenced desire into creative power. Ignite your fear of being alone into freedom. Women are not afraid of good men, but they are afraid of men who are integrated. Men who have made peace with their shadow, who have taken it to their side. For centuries, this knowledge belonged only to kings, warriors, and thinkers. Now it is in your hands. The only question remains: when will you start using it? Because the world needs dangerous men now. Not tyrants, not violent men, but uncontrollable men. You've seen the truth. Now the only thing left to do, live it. There are two poles innate in you. One is the child who wants to fit in. The side that seeks approval, wants to be loved, is ready to do anything to avoid abandonment. The other is a chained warrior, the dark side of you, sick with silence, disoriented because it has been repressed but still sleeping furiously inside. Jung called this dark side the shadow, and he revealed this bitter truth. A man who does not recognize his shadow becomes a puppet of others. Society has shown you the light. Be good, be kind, be understanding, be compassionate. But it has never taught you how to manage your darkness. Because the dangerous man is the uncontrollable man, and the uncontrollable man is the enemy of the consumer system. Your shadow resists you doing what you don't want to do. The man who knows how to say no is not a slave to advertising. When you start to wake up, you realize how false the identities you have been given are. You said, "If I'm a good man, I'll win." Did you win? No, you didn't. Were you appreciated by women? Number respected? On the contrary, you have been crushed as your weakness has been sanctified. Because women understand, not consciously but instinctively, that a man who does not control his shadow cannot protect it. And when they feel this, they move away from you. One of Jung's most striking observations was this: a woman cannot trust a man unless she encounters his repressed shadow. Because if the man does not recognize his own darkness, he cannot carry the darkness of the woman. This is where the real transformation begins. Facing your shadow. In other words, taking back what was stolen from you. Your repressed anger, your forgotten desires, your suppressed hatred, your fear of loneliness, your frustration, and they can all come together to rebuild you. But this is not a yoga class or a meditation break. This is a voluntary descent into hell. And what you find there, you have to discipline, not love. The man who is integrated with the shadow does not need the woman. He chooses the woman. The man who owns his shadow is the one who offers love, not the one who needs love. And that is exactly why women either deeply desire or fear such men. Because these men cannot be manipulated. Look at the world outside. Most men are still looking for the emotional substitute of a mother. They want to find solace, direction, belonging in a woman. But this is a caricature of masculinity. Jung said, "Man is not complete with woman. He is complete by becoming one with his shadow. And when you become one with your shadow, you are not alone. You become self-sufficient. At this point, a woman is not a need, but a choice. And this choice makes you independent." Now think about it. How many times have you made yourself smaller just to avoid being alone? How many times have you valued a woman who ignored you? How many times have you waited for a woman to save you, and each time you have sunk deeper and deeper? Because the salvation is not there. The savior within you has to come from within, not from outside. That primordial force hidden in the shadow can lift you up only when you direct it. So stop seeking approval from the outside world. This is the weakness of the modern man. External validation, the number of followers, female attention, status. All this tries to cover up the inner emptiness. But as Jung said, if the soul doesn't come to the surface, it pulls you down. And you're in the middle of that saying right now. Either you go up or you drown. When a man sees the shadow, he has two choices: deny it or walk into the storm. Most men run away. They distract themselves with work, numb themselves with pleasure, or look for another woman, hoping that this time the illusion will last. But the rare man, the dangerous man, does something different. He integrates. Carl Jung called this the path of individuation, the long, often painful process by which a man confronts not only the lies he has been told, but also the lies he has told himself. It starts with heartbreak, betrayal, or breakdown, something that shatters the ego and makes him question everything he thought he knew. But what feels like destruction is actually birth. When you stop blaming women and start seeing the game for what it is, you graduate from childhood. You become sovereign. Let's be clear, it's not about domination, it's about detachment. A sovereign man is not cruel, he is not manipulative. He is not on the red pill in the shallow, reactive sense. He is calm, he is decisive, he is centered. It doesn't need approval, it doesn't seek validation, and it certainly doesn't chase. His mere presence changes the dynamic because he no longer dances to a song he did not choose. And most importantly, he sees women as they are, not as he wants them to be. This changes everything. You no longer break down when he withholds his love. When he tests you, you don't reel. You don't get angry when he withdraws. Why? Because you no longer see his behavior as personal. You see it as instinctive, predictable, even necessary. Just as the lion doesn't blame the gazelle for running away, you don't blame a woman for reacting to power. Either you represent that power or you don't. The era of entitlement is coming to an end. Jung, bilinçaltını bilinçli hale getirene kadar hayatını yönlendirecek ve sen ona kader diyeceksin. That's what he meant. The subconscious is not just your childhood wounds or your sexual urges, but your idea of a woman. Most men still worship a mother archetype disguised as a girlfriend. So when she pretends to be a woman instead of a savior, they are shattered. The solution? Kill the ideal, not literally but psychologically. Let the false goddess die. Mourn her, bury it, and build something stronger in its place. The ability to discern, the ability to see clearly, to desire without being swallowed, to love without being lost. And yes, love is still possible, but it is not the love you have been taught. Not blind devotion, not a die or move on fantasy, not self-abandonment. True love is rooted in awareness. You love out of overflow, not emptiness. You give without need. You hold space not because you are trying to hold it, but because you have already protected yourself. That's where the game changes, because the man who is no longer afraid of women becomes irresistible to them. Not because of tricks or tactics, but because his presence awakens something ancient in her: respect. Women don't want control over men. They want men they cannot control. Not to dominate them, but to feel safe in the presence of their unshakable self-ownership. Now let's turn to Jung. In one of his lesser-known seminars, Jung talked about the anima, the feminine spirit within every man. He warned that if the anima is not made conscious, it will reflect on women in distorted forms: obsession, idolization, resentment. But when the anima is integrated, it becomes your creative fire, your inner muse, your intuitive compass. Here's the final test: reclaiming your inner femininity without surrendering to the outer. It sounds paradoxical, but this is the essence of masculine maturity. You don't have to dominate women, you have to dominate your own projections. Only then are you free. Only then can you stand in front of a beautiful, mysterious, powerful woman and not flinch, not fantasize, not fall. You just see. Because here is the bitter truth. If you still think she is not like the others, then you have not learned anything. He is. Not because he is bad, but because he is human. He is fallible, he is imperfect, and he has his own shadow war to fight. When you see that, you stop waiting for him to save you and you start saving yourself finally. When a man confronts his shadow, integrates his anger, and stops his unconscious fascination with the feminine, something remarkable happens. The noise stops. The tests, the games, the manipulations, they lose their power. Not because women have changed, but because man has changed. He is no longer a participant in the unconscious dance. He is no longer its puppet, or his own. And then what? Does he walk alone forever as an armored monk untouched by love? No, because there is another realm beyond the battlefield of manipulation. A higher unity, a union that very few talk about because very few have experienced it. Carl Jung called it hierosgamos, the sacred marriage. Not between man and woman, but between the masculine and feminine within you. You see, most men run after women because they have not yet embraced the woman within them. Their anima has been shattered, buried, rejected, so they project it onto someone other than themselves. She will complete me, they think. She will see me, heal me, save me. But this is a boy's dream, a dangerous dream, because any power you give to a woman to complete you, she must use it to control you. Holy marriage begins when you take back what you have been chasing after. This means you have to learn to mother yourself, to feel your own wounds and hold them without shame, to nurture your dreams without needing applause, to express softness not as a weakness but as a conscious choice. When you do this, your anima changes. It no longer torments you with fantasies or traps you in need. It becomes your ally, your fire, your soul, your creative power. There is now a radical change in the way you look at women. You are no longer looking for a mother. You no longer need a nurse for your pain. You see her not as your salvation, but as your mirror, and sometimes as your challenge. Because now you can stand in front of the real woman, not the idealized goddess, not the seductress or the destroyer, but the complete, imperfect feeling creature she is. And instead of fearing her or worshiping her, you meet her. And when this kind of union happens, if it happens, it is because you are the man who can hold it. Not through control, but through consciousness. Not through seduction, but through silence. You have become the mountain, and only then can she become the river flowing towards you, not to drown you, but to dance with your stillness.